And good morning to my sorors as well. So I'm going to share my screen, but I do have my sister Nicole Parker who is with us, who will be co-presenting. I will say I always give her the credit for being the brains behind Sisters in Business. She is the reason why we are doing this work. The idea of Sisters in Business started with her, and it has blossomed into more than what we could ever imagine. So this workshop, I just wanted to let folks know, in the chat, you will see a business basics workbook. You would have received the email about this workbook today. You can download that version, and that version isn't a fillable PDF. So if you wanted to download it, print it, or if you're able to write on it through having Adobe Pro, you certainly can do that. The workbook in the chat is the same thing, except for it's fillable. So as we're going along, you may want to open it up and follow along. So as I share my screen here, all right. And if I can get just a quick thumbs up to make sure everyone can see it. All right, looks like folks can see it. So we'll move right along. So today's workshop is really designed to go through the business basics. We'll talk about this a little bit later toward the end of our presentation today, but Sisters in Business partnered with the Black Wall Street Kalamazoo to develop the Black Entrepreneurship Training Academy. And that is a more comprehensive business course to help people who are in business. We look at people at the beginning of their entrepreneurship journey or a little bit further along. And many of the topics that we talk about today are the topics that we go through as part as beta. And so today we'll start with mindset. We'll move into business structure and development. We'll talk a little bit about business finances. I know folks don't like to talk about finances, but we have some exercises to help us there. Business planning. And then we'll talk about some basic business tools to help you on your journey. And then end with local business resources. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, to lead us through a mindfulness exercise as we begin with mindset.
All right. Thank you, Lisa, for the introduction. And I also would like to thank you all for having me. I do apologize if you hear a little voice in the background. I have my beautiful niece here. So Lisa and I are going to tag team really quickly, and she's going to do this part.
All right. So when we're going to go through a lot of topics today, I'm going to take about a minute, and I'm just going to ask everyone to close their eyes. And what I want you all to do is just start off by taking a deep breath in and then slowly let it out. With this next deep breath, I want you to take a picture, put a mental picture of a place that you want to be. It can be a beach, it can be a garden, but take a deep breath in with that mental picture. As you take that next deep breath out, I want you to roll your shoulders back, get into a relaxed position. I'm going to take one more deep breath in, still with that picture of that beautiful place. And then slowly exhale it out. And now, as that picture begins to fade, I want you to bring your eyes open. We're going to come into the room a little more relaxed, ready to take on this information, having that picture of a place of peace and tranquility, because as we go into this, we got this and we don't have to be stressed about it. This is the opportunity for us to learn and to grow. And so we wanted to have our minds open. All right, Nicole.
All right. Thank you, Lisa, for helping us get into this. As Lisa stated, with our beta program, we start off with mindset. And I think it's so important to start off with mindset when you are starting a business because it is the core and the anchor of everything that you do. I think often when we go into business, people have an ideal, but they don't take the time to say, hey, where am I at mentally? And understanding the core of why you are starting a business. So here we just have some basic questions that we always encourage people to go through. And if you've downloaded the downloadable workbook, these questions are in there as well as some more detailed questions in there to help you go a little bit deeper. Mindset is key. So a lot of the questions we tell people to say is, why do you even want to start the business, right? Sometimes we have an idea or we have a hobby and we think it's going to be the next best thing, but going deeper, what is at the core of why I'm starting my business, right? A lot of we know that Black women are the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs and has been for years, right? And there are a number of reasons of why that is happening. Shifts in the workplace, we see a lot of different things and changes happening. But also perhaps it is flexibility, perhaps it is something that you have always dreamed that you wanted to do, but really understanding why you are starting your business is going to be critical and key because there are going to be times that you want to give up. And if you are not anchored in your why and have a clear understanding, these are things that can distract you from being able to push forward. Understanding what are your fears about starting your business, right? I think there are a lot of fears. There are many of us who said, I wanted to start a long time ago. I'm pretty sure if I asked people on this call, how many of you want to start a business, but you haven't, right? Or perhaps there are people who have started a business. Fear is there. But so really digging deep into those fears because those become the barriers that can oftentimes stop you. What do you hope to gain by starting your business, right? Are you hoping to create change through your business? Are you hoping to increase your own, supplement your own income? Necessity entrepreneurship is one of the main reasons why a lot of people want to start a business. And or is your business solving a problem, which all businesses should be started solving some type of problem, right? So really understanding what am I trying to gain? What do I hope to get out of this by starting this business? And then what does success look in your business look like for you, right? I think oftentimes when we begin this journey, is success about making money? Is success about getting your first client? Is success about selling your business, right? There is something, a lot of times we don't even begin to get into what does it look like for me to have a business and have it acquired, right? So what does success look like for you? Is that being able to hire? Is that being able to have extra income for me? Whatever that is, make sure from the beginning you're starting to define that. So you are really clear and rooted in your why and how you're moving forward, because your mindset is going to be extremely critical to how you move because it helps you set the precedent of how I think, how I operate, how I shape the culture of my business, how I shape my own mindset, because there will be hard times. And in those hard times, you're going to have to lean on your mindset, lean on your faith, right? Lean on different things to help you pull through and be clear on why you are doing what you're doing. So these are just, like I said, some questions you can think through.
And as Nikki said, those are in the workbook.
Mhm.
Just to make it interactive, I don't know if anybody wants to share. Does anybody have an answer now that they want to throw
Mhm.
out there to any of these questions? I'll just make it open. We do have a little time, but anybody have any fears about starting a business? Have you started a business and you're like, this is not what I expected to be? Does anybody want to just take a moment and share? And you can just come off mute.
Um, I'll share. I would like to start a business because I'm interested in getting more income or to supplement my income.
Beautiful. Anyone else? I see Lashandra.
Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. I think my thoughts is I never thought about starting a business per se. I just have a lot of like random ideas that like just go through my mind and just wonder. So mine's is more of the ideas aspect more than actually, starting something and putting it into fruition.
Beautiful. I like that. Anyone else? So we encourage people to write this down. And the reason is because I'll just share a little bit about the starting of Sisters in Business. When we started this, we had one idea, and it was to gather women to network and just get to know each other and support each other in business. We weren't thinking about pitch competitions. We weren't thinking about workshops. We weren't thinking about any of that. And so at the core of why we wanted to support Start Sisters in Business, we knew it was because we wanted to support our women. And what happens is, as you go along in your journey, growth happens, or new opportunities, or things that you didn't even fathom would happen. And that why has helped us to say, yes, we're going to do this. No, we're going to do this. Or when we did a whole lot of stuff, it also has helped us to say, actually, we need to peel back and go and focus on these things, because this is why we wanted to do this work. And so you don't have to have all the answers. These answers may change over time, but we encourage our entrepreneurs to start here, because this is going to be a good way of setting, like Nicole said, kind of setting that roadmap for the culture of how you want your business to look, and also getting to the core of what you want to do. So as for Birch Clark said, if you want to make more money and you start doing something that's not making money, then maybe you don't want to do that thing. And so these are good questions to ask. And even if the answers are simple, it's okay to keep it simple, because that's what you want to be able to lean on as you're going forward. Nicole?
Absolutely. And I'm going to put this here as well. As Lisa said, when we started this, a lot of it came to my graduate research was on Black women in business. And my thesis study was entitled Ain't I an Innovator? And really looking at how Black women throughout history have been innovative and creative and disruptive, and taking power in our own agency through creating, right? And so a lot of what happened is I studied Black women throughout history, right? With Madam C.J. Walker, Ella Baker, people who were in different roles and places and sectors in the world. And things that were very common that I saw with these women, and I call it the 6 eyes of Black innovation, is this process of the self-disruption, right? When we get into a space and we start to understand our lived intersectionality and who we are as individuals and how that impacts our mindset, oftentimes when we are breaking into starting our own innovation, starting our own businesses, starting our own nonprofits, it begins with an internal disruption first. It's beginning with that mindset shift within ourselves, where we're saying, I want something different. Whether that I want something different is I need more income, or actually I have a skill set, or I have a service, or I have a product that can solve a problem, and I can have my own self-agency and actually have some economic empowerment and do this through a business. So I just wanted to put that out there, that a lot of times the shifting and saying, I want to start a business, or I want to start something, or I have these ideals, comes from that own self-reflection and internal disruption to say, there is something here within me that I want to do something with. How do I then get started?
All right. So we're going to move next to business structure and development. So I'm going to talk first about the different types of business structures, and then we'll talk a little bit about what is it that I choose. And so I didn't put all of the different types of business structures that are out there. There are others, but these are the most common. So the first type of business structure that many people are familiar with, and really is one of the most popular, is sole proprietorship. And basically, with sole proprietorship, you're starting your business. You don't have to file any formal documentation in order to start your business. Some people will get an EIN and to allow them to open up a business bank account, and that's something that we highly encourage. But with a sole proprietorship, you own the business, it's in your name. The way that you report your income for tax purposes is it's a part of your individual taxes. The plus side of that is it's very simple, and you can just start your business. You can start collecting income. It's easy to report. The downside to a sole proprietorship is while it's very simple, it opens you up as an individual to all liability associated with your business. So it doesn't separate you from your business. So, for example, if you are a hairdresser and you just are doing hair and at your home, and somebody comes to your home and let's say they slip and fall on something inside of your home and they now want to sue you, you are now open to that lawsuit, which can attach to your home and to other assets that you own. The other thing is, for tax reporting purposes, you don't have a separation between the business and your personal taxes. And so let's just use still that example of being a hairdresser. If you are one of the best hairdressers out there, you're making a lot of money and you're reporting all of this on your taxes, it can increase your tax liability by a lot. And you may not necessarily have all of the benefits that can come along with filing taxes if you were in a different type of structure. So with each of these different structures, I would say that there is not a good or a bad. There's not a right or a wrong. It really is a choice of what is it that is going to fit best for you. The other thing to keep in mind is that these structures may change depending on how your business grows or changes over time. So you don't have to be stuck in one particular structure. So it's very common for some business owners to start off as a sole proprietorship, and then as things begin to grow in their business, they develop the need to go into a different type of business structure. The next type of business structure is a partnership. And this is when two or more individuals come together to establish a business. In a partnership, you have shared responsibility, shared financial responsibility. Partnerships can be started very similar to sole proprietorship. So it does not necessarily require that you file any formal paperwork. The same thing here is if you start your partnership similar to the sole proprietorship without doing any other filings, then you have both shared liability for debts and expenses or other legal obligations. But again, you can also, when it comes to taxes with partnerships, there are ways in which you can divide both that income and expenses to do it in a way that benefits the partners in the business. So for example, Nicole and I had a business called A&P Consulting for years. Nicole is now the sole owner of that business. But when we were in a partnership, we had a way in which we divided up our tax responsibility that benefited us. And in part was because Nicole operated the business full time and I still had a W-2 job. And so there were benefits in how we did our tax planning based on the way that our business was structured. So it does have some benefits there. But again, if you start your partnership similar to the sole proprietorship without doing any other filing, you do open yourself up to the liabilities that come up with that, and you as an individual can be responsible for that. The next thing is the limited liability company, or LLC. And so an LLC is a business entity that gives you some benefits of a corporation, but also gives you some benefits of a partnership or sole proprietorship. So with the limited liability company, you have to file paperwork to establish that entity. The way that you can think of a limited liability company is that when you set up a limited liability company, it becomes like its own person. So the company itself now is the thing that has the tax responsibility, the liability, the obligations, and it separates you as a person, your individual or personal household business from the actual business. So the benefits of an LLC is it does provide that separation. You can keep your business things in one place. You can keep your personal things in another place. What that means is if something happens, so now I'm a hairdresser and I've started my business, but I've established a limited liability company. So if my business as a hairdresser then gets sued, the business income or assets are the things that will be held responsible, could be held responsible, I should say. But me as an individual, I may not necessarily suffer loss as a result of a lawsuit that may happen. The same thing in a LLC when it comes to what happens if your LLC is not making money, it's taking on a lot of debt, and now you need to file for bankruptcy. So businesses can file bankruptcy under certain chapters of the bankruptcy code, which won't impact you as an individual. So your business might have filed for bankruptcy, but personally, you still have money in your bank. You still are able to handle your personal affairs without it being necessarily impacted by the business. So again, it separates that liability from the business. In some respects, a LLC can be more complex in establishing, especially if you have an LLC where you're doing it with partners, multiple people are coming on board. So I always encourage, as the judge and lawyer in the room, that you would want to get an attorney to help you with filing the paperwork. There are ways for you to do this yourself. In Michigan, the Department of Lara, the Regulatory Affairs Agency does have some simplistic ways for you to look at all of this stuff and get access to it. But I always encourage people to at least have a lawyer do a once over so that you can understand what you're doing and what you're getting into and what you're signing up for. There's also tax responsibilities as an LLC. So depending on how your LLC is established, there's a certain way that you need to make sure that your taxes are filed. We always encourage people in business, if you can, get a tax professional to help you with filing your taxes because it gets a little bit more complex. And at least with a tax professional, they'll be able to help you take advantage of the benefits of your filing while also being able to work through making sure that you as an individual, your tax responsibility is being taken care of in the manner it's supposed to be taken care of. Then you have C Corporation and S Corp. So with your C Corporation, that's a common type of business structure in the US, especially for bigger companies. And so your C Corporation oftentimes requires you to have a board, and in some cases you will have shareholders. So if you are a business that's growing and you intend on having shareholders to invest into your business, a C Corp might be for you. It is a step further in the process, like a LLC. It's a little bit more complex in terms of filing that paperwork, but the tax benefit, there's both tax benefits and could be some tax responsibilities that may not fit for you. And so with a C Corp, there's often what's called the double taxation. And to not get overly complicated, when you have double taxation, what you have to pay as a business owner in taxes for your employees and for your products, those employees and products are being taxed, but then you also have to pay taxes for the corporation. And so it's just the way in which the taxes are levied on to the corporation. And again, this will be something that you would go through a tax professional to be able to help you with if a C Corporation is for you. And then lastly, S Corporation is also another business entity. The biggest difference between C Corp and S Corp is the way in which you pass through the taxes and your tax liability. And so with C corporations, one of the other things that I will say is if you are a limited liability company, you can also get C Corp election for tax purposes. And again, that has to do with how you pass through your taxes. I am not a tax professional. So what I would say is if these are things that you're interested in, especially if you're like, I'm trying to make money and I'm not trying to get hit by the federal government and paying a crazy amount of taxes, you definitely want to talk with a lawyer and a tax professional to figure out which structure is the best for you. So let's talk about that question. Which structure will work best for my business? If you look in your workbook, we have a worksheet that will ask you several questions that go deeper than what is out here. But the first thing is, how much liability can you personally sustain? And that really depends on what are you doing in your business. And so if you have a product-based business, and you want to make sure that you separate that liability right away, it may make a lot of sense for you to do an LLC. But if you're a service-based business, that maybe you're seeing clients, you may be like, I don't want to get sued by a client if something messes up, so let me make sure that I'm established as an LLC. I will also make a note here, if you are a professional, a license-based professional, you may have to file what's called a professional limited liability company. So a lot of times you'll see the acronym PLLC, and that a lot of times is what you will see for your doctor's offices, your dentists, your attorneys, CPAs, certified personal accountants. These are licensed or regulated professionals that are required to file their businesses in this way. So if you're a lawyer and you're saying, hey, I want to start my own law firm, then you may look at filing a PLLC, which is a limited liability company, but it's under the professional regulations of your industry. So again, that's definitely something that you'd want to talk to a lawyer about. But those are things that you want to think through at the outset. How often is your business earning income is another huge question. So if you have the kind of business where you're just starting off and let's say you're not getting clients right away. So Nicole and I, our business, A&P Consulting, when we first started off, we did not have that many clients. And we only were seeing people, I'm going to say like once a quarter. So given the fact that we weren't bringing in a lot of income initially, and the type of consulting work that we did not have a lot of consequences. In other words, we could risk not being sued in that business. We initially started off as a partnership. As our business began to grow and as we began to sustain more clients, and as we began to have the ability to get government contracts, it became imperative that we establish an LLC. And so we changed from just a general partnership to an LLC because it fit how our business was growing. But starting off, when we weren't making that much money and our risks weren't really high to being sued or having a lot of potential liability, it did not make sense for us to spend the money to establish an LLC. So that's why these are very individual questions. And then what is your tax plan for your business? And I know a lot of times people don't like to talk about finances. We don't like to get into the weeds of that, but just having some idea of how do I need to file taxes when tax time comes along is something that you definitely want to look into. It may be that, hey, for right now, my first few years doing this business, I need to keep everything as simple as possible. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you do want to make sure that you're planning as you're making money so that if you need to set aside a certain amount of money for taxes, you already have that at the outset. When we started our business, again, like I said, we weren't getting that many clients. Then when we started getting clients, the type of money that we were making, especially from contract work, it required that we made sure that we had a plan for having money set aside, and we needed to know what that looked like. The other thing is for businesses don't pay taxes or even file certain tax paperwork at the same time as you do your personal income taxes. So we all know the April 15th deadline for personal income taxes is pretty standard. Everybody knows that. But businesses have a different schedule for how they have to both pay taxes and file certain things. And it also depends on what kind of business you have. So if you're a service-based business, you may have different requirements than if you're a product-based business. So it's really important that you also talk to somebody, especially if you're selling products, about sales tax and things of that nature, that you have a plan, that as you're making that money, you're setting aside what is owed to the government, because the last thing you want to do is have a phenomenal year making $250,000 and now you owe the government $40,000 and you're like, but I've already invested all that money in my business. So it's really, really important that these are things that you think through. If you look on your worksheet in the workbook, there's what I've done is you see that you just answer these questions for yourself. If you are going to talk to a lawyer about your business, or you're just like, I don't know what I need to do, go to a lawyer with the answers to those questions, because a lot of times these are the things that the lawyer is going to want to know in order to advise you on what looks best for your business. If you're like, look, I don't got that much money, I'm not trying to go talk to no lawyer and pay no $500 an hour, then the other place I would encourage you to go is the Small Business Administrative administration website. So SBA.gov, and that link is in the workbook. And they have a really good resource for looking at the different types of business structures. And then you can make a decision based on the information that you have there on what works best for you. And again, you don't have to be in this business structure forever. There are many businesses that start off as limited liability companies, and then they have exponential growth, and the next thing you know, they're a C corporation. So it really just depends on what's going on with you right now. And again, it's not a right or a wrong. And so you may see things online where people are like, oh, don't be a sole proprietorship, or everybody's getting an LLC. Ignore all of that. What's going to work for you? What is it that you can handle based on what's going on with you right now? And answering these questions will help give you a little bit more clarity as you look at the resources to be able to figure out what fits for you. Does anyone have any immediate questions? I will say, if you put questions in the chat, those will get to us. But does anybody have any immediate questions before we move forward? All right, we will keep things moving. All right, so business finances. We all love talking about finances, right? So in the workbook, there's a couple of pages to help you work through this. What I will say is, in the Black Entrepreneurship Training Academy, we start at a little bit of a different level, and we use the profit first model for business finance. And what profit first basically looks at is, it gives you a particular type of structure for budgeting your business, so that you, as the owner of your business, are ensuring that you're getting paid and that your business is making profit. And so that is what we use when we're teaching beta. We have Michelle Mitchell of Mitchell's Consulting, who teaches that part. But for today, and we get very, very basic. And so what we start with is, look at your personal budget. And in your workbook, you will see these questions. They're laid out a little bit differently so that you can work through some of these things. So start with, what are your personal living expenses? And you might think, well, that's simple. Or you might be a person that's like, I got spreadsheets galore, or I use this app to keep up with my personal living expenses. It's important to know that, because if you got to know how much money you need to live in order to know how is that going to impact your business. Believe it or not, when Nicole and I started our business, we did not ask ourselves these questions first. And what we learned very quickly is, what you do in business definitely impacts your personal life. And if you're not thinking about it, or you're not monitoring it, you may end up spending more money, or you may end up putting yourself in a position personally that you didn't anticipate, because you're trying to pour into your passion in your business. So you got to know, what are your personal living expenses, and how much money do you need for those personal living expenses? I encourage you to break it down weekly, monthly, and yearly. But if you need to keep it simple, break it down monthly. Yeah, there are some people out there that have a lot of money, but the reality of it is, unless you're a person who's making a net income of $250,000 or more, most people in this economy, you struggling on some level. And so you have to know what your expenses are and what is it that you need to make sure that your day-to-day is covered. The next question is, how much money do I need to make in my business to meet my personal needs? And that's important. So even if you're thinking, well, my business is going to be separate, it's just this thing I'm going to do over there. Or even if you're like, I have some extra disposable income that I can pour into my business, you still want to make sure that you are going to be able to bring in a certain amount of your money in your business so it's not impacting your personal needs. And so having that conversation with yourself or whoever you're going into business with is very important. The next question is, if my business doesn't make money, can you sustain your personal living through other means? And so what are those other means? So for some people, you got a business and you're working a W-2 job. For some folks, you have a spouse or a partner who's helping to support you. Do you have somebody who has given you an inheritance? Do you have a certain amount of savings that is giving you some disposable income? So what are those other means that you can identify that show you if you are going to start this business, you still can make sure that your house notes, your rent, your electricity, your internet, your personal needs are being met? And then how long can I sustain my personal living expenses through these other means? And so if you don't have an endless well of money, then how long is it you're going to be able to sustain doing what you're doing for your business while also making sure that your household is all right? And that's a really important thing to think through, because then maybe you need to plan out how this looks differently. And then lastly, how will this business impact my household budget? So again, you may think, hey, this business is going to be over here. I got this extra money. It's not going to touch my household budget. But let's say you've developed a product and now Meyer comes along and they're like, hey, we want your product in our store, but that means you now have to go from a production of 5 cases to a production of 500 cases. Well, that's going to definitely impact your household in budget. And so these are things that you at least want to think through. So you do all of this from the personal standpoint. And I do see a hand. Go right ahead.
Sorry about that. So my question is, when you talked about you and your sister starting your consulting business, I'm just curious, like what expenses could occur from consulting? Could it be like traveling or materials or something? Can you share a little bit about that, please?
Absolutely. I'll let Nicole chime in.
Absolutely. A lot of times when we start service-based businesses, I will say service-based businesses can be less expensive to start than a product-based business. But we learned very quickly there are going to be expenses, right? So you did mention that products, right? Products were big for us. So we were doing a lot of presentations. We were doing strategic planning. So people wanted reports, and it just so happened, and I'll say this here because it is so important to really be able to say when you start your business, having the income to start the business. When we started our business, I had just finished grad school. I was working 4 jobs while starting a business because and I was living in the DC area. Cost of living was up. I was working 4 different jobs, but I also was saying your W-2 job can be an investor to your business. I went back and was working at Staples in the print center. I knew I needed a lot of prints. I knew I had a lot of presentations. I was able to utilize my discount to then offset that. So prints were one of the things that we spent money on. Travel was one of the things that we spent money on because we started to get clients. Because I was living in the DC area, I had clients in DC and in Michigan. So that meant we had to travel, as well as the cost of the systems of your business, right? So getting a website up, that cost. Making sure that you had an email address, that cost, right? Making sure that you have the necessary training or certifications that you need. So I think there are a lot of hidden costs sometimes that we don't even begin to factor in when you're starting a business. It takes money to make the money, and thinking, how can I leverage their job or existing resources? Or if I say, hey, I've done this personal budget and I recognize that I need additional income to help supplement this, that if I am going to get another job, a part-time job, or do some additional work, that it's also somehow leveraging my business. So me working at Staples in a print center helped me a ton, right? When I'm working with clients where I'm producing reports, so I can get discounts on that stuff. But also your personal job. Perhaps your job would allow you to do some professional development. Are there professional developments that are going to, especially for those of you who are in service-based businesses, consulting and things like that, are there particular professional development opportunities that my job is going to leverage that I can use for myself? If there are certifications that my job will pay for, right, that I can use to lean into my business. And that was one of the pieces of advice that I got from a mentor. I had a mentor that she actually has a global international consulting company now. And that was one of the first things she told me. She said, keep your job, allow your job to be your number one investor, leverage professional development, leverage the networks, leverage what is already existing so you can then minimize your overhead and your costs and allow other resources to help you propel and start your business.
Other things that I would think, go right ahead, follow-up question.
I'm sorry. So my other question is, now that we have this virtual space that we use more so now than in the past, could that also be an option as it pertains to consulting? And are there expenses that occur when you do it that way?
Absolutely. And that's great because what happened when COVID hit, all my clients went virtual, right? And I'm mainly still virtual. There were a lot of the hidden costs that happened to me was making sure that our website was updated, making sure that I got a paid Zoom, right? A Zoom account. And because in addition to, I also hire contractors. So I'll subcontract with other consultants to come in and help me with bigger contracts. So that meant I needed to make sure my contractors had access to my Zoom accounts or different things such as Calendly, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other business tools and that you all can use that'll help you automate your business. So a lot of those expenses, especially for those of you who are considering service-based businesses or online in general, whether you have a product-based business and you're saying, maybe I can sell something online, there are a lot of hidden costs there, especially the cost of automation, which I highly recommend people do, right? Automating your business so you're not going back and forth with a client to schedule, right? So there's an app called Calendly. Like I said, we'll go into some details about that. I can't remember what the full cost of it is, but I started off with a small subscription, but I was like, I need more, right? I need to be able to have different types of capabilities. So I had to go up to a premium package. So same thing with my website, same thing with other automation. So I use Calendly, I'm using Google Suites, I'm using newsletters, all of these things to help automate your business, to have a virtual online presence. There was a lot of cost there.
Yeah, I'll add to that and say like your ads and then just like your tech.
Marketing.
So if you have your computer through work, when you start your business, get your own personal computer, because if your job is like, you get let go, that's all your stuff. And so we had to buy new computers because my primary computers were through my job. So that was 2 laptops that we had to buy off rip. Even though you're virtual, you also want to make sure like you have the right internet speeds. And so because you're doing more virtual, we had to up our internet speed to make sure that we were at the maximum internet speed, because sometimes Nicole would be on a meeting, I would be on a meeting. We were in the same house. And so trying to make sure we had those in place. Your memory. So the memory on your computer, because if you're producing more documents that are being shared online, you want to make sure that you have the space to save them. Or if you're going to do something like a Dropbox or a Google Suite, you might need to have both, because when you're sharing documents with other clients, you need to make sure that you're able to do that in a way that you can still retain what you have. So those would be some of those expenses. And again, we didn't even think about it because you're thinking, I just got to log on to this meeting and, it's all good. But it's a little bit more than that. But that's a great question because those are like Nicole said, the hidden costs in the business that you're not thinking about. And then don't underestimate, just because you are a service-based business, how much printing you're going to have to do, even in a web-based world. So getting a printer, because you'll have clients, depending on what your web-based business is, you'll have clients that might need to send you documents. They send you them documents, it don't make no sense. The scans look crazy, whatever the case. Now I got to print this stuff out to make sense of it. You need to scan. So being able to have a printer that has the application to scan and to do those types of things. Virtual, especially because we can do so many things on our phones. So your phone is an expense. But then what additional applications on your phone do you need? Adobe Pro is a great resource, but Adobe Pro comes with a resource. And for us, starting the consulting business pre-COVID shutdown, we did do more traveling because our clients were Grand Rapids, DC, Detroit, we're traveling all around. Not all of your client contracts are going to come with that in the budget. And then when you're first starting off, especially if you're breaking into an industry that's new, you might not even think about asking for that type of money as part of your price point. So some of our very early contracts we learned, especially out of town, was that we weren't asking for enough money, because by the time we traveled to there, we got the hotel, we got our food, we did all of this stuff, we done already expensed out what we were getting paid. And so building in those expenses. The other thing too, which you can do more online, is the pitching of your business. So especially with contracts, government-based contracts, a lot of times you're going to have to do a request for you with the RFP. You have to put together things. The RFP might require you to put some things in there that you might not have access to. So we did one RFP, for example, where we needed to include what our research model was going to be for this particular contract. Well, that means we needed to contract with a person doing research. Even though the bulk of the work we were doing was more qualitative, we still needed to have that quantitative arm to be able to show that we could sustain the project. So, and we had to put that in the RFP. So we needed that stuff up front, which means we had to contract with this person to be able to put the model together. They want their money too. And we're spending that money before we get a yes or a no on the project. So sometimes even the pitching process of your business will require you to spend some money up front. So excellent question. So that's a good segue into what are the expenses for my business? And these are the things that on your worksheet, those are some of the things that you can think through. So what I would say in doing the exercise in the workbook is just take a moment and say, okay, I'm going to start, let's just say I'm doing an education consulting business, and my education consulting business is going to be teaching other educators on how to develop curriculum. So start with how do I do this? How would I do this? And kind of make a list of all the steps that it would take for you to do it. Then on the other side, you can say, so what things do I need to be able to do this? And then from there, you'll be able to say, oh, I'm gonna need to have these printouts if I do it in person, or I'm gonna have to need to make sure this is developed. We're using Canva today to do this presentation. We have a premium subscription to Canva because the reality of it is all the good stuff comes with Canva Pro. So making sure that you have the ability to do that. And some things you can get for free. I will say what we kind of lucked out in is when we started our business, because we were already in the consulting space, we had some of this stuff and we were able to get in on a lot of things before everything went web-based or online. So we were able to use a lot of stuff for free before these companies were like, oh, wait, everybody needs it. So now we're going to price it. But but a lot of things are always developing. And if you already have some stuff in place, you can kind of work around, okay, I can use this for a little while, or maybe I just need to do a pay to play. So I'm not going to pay for a full year subscription, but I'll do this for a couple of months and that'll give me what I need to develop my products and then we'll move on. So that would be a good way to start if you're like, I have no idea what it's going to take to run this business. What do you want to do? List out what things are you going to do. Then based on what you're doing, what do you need to do that? And when you figure that out, now you know what you need to do that. Go look up how much it costs. And now you have a list of some of those business expenses. The next question is, how much do you want to get paid? And that's a real, like, don't think like, well, I ain't making no money, so how am I going to say how much I want to get paid? How much do you want to get paid? That's, put a number on it, because that will also give you a good idea as to, do I need to pivot or do I stay the course because I can get to that number? And believe it or not, a lot of times you can get to that number. Nicole and I went to a business training where we had to do that. Like, this is what we want to get paid. And it was scary because we put a number down that we really wanted to get paid. And, you know, would you have it, that next year, putting together a strategy, we started making that kind of money. It was kind of crazy, but you can get there. And it didn't mean like we didn't, you know, write it down and then the next day somebody was like, here's this contract. It took some work, it took some strategy, but we got there. And it really put that number down, because that will give you a good idea as to if you're going in the right direction. There are people who like to start businesses to start businesses. They're just serial entrepreneurs and they just want to make money. Nothing wrong with it. And one thing I think Nicole was telling me that she was talking to somebody, he said, if it don't make money, it don't make sense. And they started companies here in Kalamazoo where they were like, we shut them companies down in 3 months because it wasn't making no money. So sometimes you see these restaurants going up and down because there are people that are like, if it's not making the money that I want, then I'm not doing it. It's that simple. So what do you want to get paid from your business, and what's the strategy to get there? How much do you charge for your products and services? So this is a good question to ask yourself, because like I was saying, this is how much I want to get paid. Now, how much am I charging? The next question is, does your current price for your project or service cover your expenses and pay? So you got your expenses. Now you have a general number of what your expenses are. You have a general number of how much you want to get paid. Does the number this simple math, does this plus this equal I'm getting paid this? And if it's not, sometimes that means you need to go up on those prices. And if it's not going up on those prices, and Nicole will talk a little bit about this when we go through business planning, sometimes it might just be figuring out where your customers are, figuring out who's paying for your service versus who's using your services. So I know, like with the work that we do, we are very mindful of the people that we're serving. We're very mindful, especially in this area, that people don't have that kind of disposable income. Not everybody's going to pay, you know, $100 to come to a workshop like this. However, we have grant funding that we have access to, so we can be able to do things like this. So figuring out how do we get there to be able to serve the people that we want to serve, while also making sure that we can pay for our lives and pay for the expenses of running our organization. And then what funding is your business? What is funding your business to get started? So this again goes back to dipping back into what's happening at the personal budget. So is it your personal income? Do you have savings? Do you have pitch dollars? Is there access to grants or loans? And those are things that we can talk through. But with personal income, again, you know what you got in your personal coffers because you've done the work to figure that out. You know if you got savings or not. Pitch dollars is another great thing. So sometimes you can go out there and pitch your business, be a part of pitch competitions. Sisters in Business has a pitch competitions. There's other pitch competitions that we'll talk about where you can win $10,000, $5,000, $100,000. And those are all, that's money, that's free money effectively that can help fund your business. There are some programs out there. So the United Way used to have a program, they may still have it, where they do small business grants. So another free source of income. And then loans, of course, you do have to pay back, but there are different types of loan programs. A popular thing for small businesses are zero interest loans, where you're basically borrowing from yourself. So you don't have to pay interest on that loan, but it is money you have to pay back, and that can help you get started in your business as well. What you decide is funding your business, be aware of, because a lot of our businesses, and when I say that, I mean Black businesses, a lot of us don't like to borrow money to start our business. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We have to look at what we're doing then to fund our businesses through our personal income or through our resources in our community. So that's certainly an opportunity that we can grow in as a community, but it's something to keep in mind when you're looking at starting your business.
And I just want to add this 2 cents in, is once again, this goes back to mindset too. I always tell people finances is cultural and a mindset. So making sure that you are understanding where you are with your mindset. One of the things we talk a lot about in Theta is scarcity mindset. And you don't want to approach your business from a scarcity mindset, because you will be stuck there. You'll be stuck at the level that you think you can do things. There are a lot of resources out there. But another thing I want to say in terms of finances and mindset is timing. Understanding the timing of the market, the timing of your business, right? There are ebbs and flows with different businesses, product-based businesses versus service-based businesses. There are times where you're naturally going to be busier and have more revenue versus not, right? And so understanding what that timing is, and okay, am I in are we in a down season or are we in a high season? Because I think sometimes people may make fast decisions on their business in a down season, right? And not understanding what timing am I in right now? What's happening in the economy? What's happening in the market that I'm trying to enter in, right? For me, I did DEI work for years, right? I did DEI consulting. And it's interesting because maybe 2 years ago, I shifted that. I said, I'm not doing DEI consulting anymore. However, 2020, I had a boom. I was turning down contracts because so many people, because of George Floyd, what was happening in the all over the country, everybody, corporate activism, right? Everybody wanted DEI work. Everybody was hiring DEI consultants. And that timing allowed me to get a ton of contracts. But then I went back to my why. What did I want to do? Was it something I was fulfilling? And I made a pivot. So timing, budget, money, all those things and mindset play a huge role in understanding your business, where you're going and the growth of it, and or the pivots and the changes that you need to make. So timing is very crucial to when you're analyzing your finances and making decisions on whether you're in business or pivoting business, or changing the pricing, right? Timing matters. So keep that in mind as well when you're trying to think through and you're answering some of these questions, like, what does the market look like? Where am I at personally? What is happening personally, right? There's a lot of different things. And I'll say this, historically, right? In times of movements, Black people, period, tend to create the most businesses and products and services during times like this, because we are looking for solutions. So the season is ripe for saying, if you're trying to think about, am I going to start a business? What solution can I create? It is around these times historically that Black businesses, Black women are creating things. So I know it can seem bleak, but I think there's a lot of opportunity in this season.
All right, I'm going to quickly just hit on some business finance resources. Oh, I see another raised hand. Go right ahead, Lysandra.
Oh, my apologies. I didn't mean to
Nope,
cut
you're
you off.
good. You're good.
So as Nicole was talking about, the season of, starting your business or, having a business plan, do you mind, is it appropriate for you to touch on, because I hear that Kalamazoo has like a whole lot of nonprofits. Can you touch on like what do you do in a sense where, okay, someone already has this business, how would that affect your business plan?
Yes, we actually have Okay, we probably got to speed up. We have a section that I'm going to talk about the difference between a business plan and a business canvas. And one of the things we're going to talk about there is your competitive advantage and what makes you unique. I'll just say this really quickly. Even if someone already has something, it is critical to understand your why, your unique value proposition, and I'll hit on this a little later, and what makes you different. And also timing of, are there people I can collaborate with? Does this already exist? How can I do it different? So, and like I said, we have a tool for you to kind of work through that as well. But I would say not being discouraged, but understanding the landscape in which you are entering, the market in which you are trying to make things happen, because this particular market, the Kalamazoo market, may be oversaturated, but are you doing something different? And or can you think bigger in who are your customer segments? And like I said, we'll break that down a little bit when we talk about the business canvas.
Thank you.
So just to quickly hit on business finance resources, the first thing I'm going to say is get a business banking account. So I know we talked about sole proprietorship. You don't have to, but you should. One, it helps you to separate your income. It helps you to track what are you making. So get a business bank account. If you are starting from zero, getting a business bank account requires you to get an EIN. You can go on the IRS's website to apply for an EIN. And in most cases, you will get it emailed to you that same day. The next thing is track your income and expenses. And so again, in the vein of keeping things very simple, you want to know what you're making and you want to know what you're spending. So you're doing some planning now, but then when it starts to get real, just track what's going in and going out. And that's going to be a moving picture based on what's happening with your business. To help with some of this, I've put some resources down. So Excel is a basic but very good resource. If you're a type of person that's like, I hate Excel, I don't even want to look at Excel, I would encourage you. There are a lot of resources on teaching you how to use Excel, even in a very simple way. You can get on YouTube and find some tutorials, but learning how to use Excel to keep up with a basic spreadsheet will be your friend, especially as your business grows. Wave is another accounting system that some people use. I put Wave and QuickBooks down. QuickBooks is the system that we use and that we encourage our entrepreneurs to use. But Wave is also another accounting software system. What I would say is if you're not comfortable with Excel, getting a QuickBooks subscription right away is just going to make your head hurt. So start with Excel and then migrate to QuickBooks, unless you have an accountant or a bookkeeper who can help you keep up your QuickBooks. QuickBooks is an awesome software and it can help you with downloading reports and even at tax time, being able to give that stuff over to your tax preparer. But if you are by yourself and you don't know how to use it and you don't like even doing Excel, I would not start you off there. I would say track your income, track your expenses, so that you have a handle on what's going in and out, and then take a YouTube class or something on learning how to use Excel so you can put it in that document. Because with both a QuickBooks and a Wave, you would have to set those things up and keep up with it. And those are products, once they're set up, they're really, really good for your business. But if you don't know how to set it up, then they can be very frustrating. So starting with Excel or just tracking your income and expenses is a very simple way to go forward. And then lastly, I will say, and I'll turn it over to Nicole, the book Profit First. Again, for our participants, we use the Profit First model, but Profit First is actually expanded. So there's Profit First that is industry specific. And so that is a great book to read and learning how to really focus on the money, keeping the money first, and ensuring that you're setting yourself up to make the money that you need from your business. All right, Nicole, I'll turn it over to you. And I know that you have the next slide.
And I'll also say, in terms of finances, don't be afraid to go talk to a financial professional. If you don't have the money for it, talk to your bank. All of you are banking somewhere. Your money is there, therefore the banks work with you and for you. So don't be afraid to go have a conversation with a business banker to say, hey, can you help me look through these statements? Make sure you're downloading your your bank statements and looking at them. And like Lisa said, if you can go take a quick Excel course or YouTube an Excel course, because whether you're using QuickBooks, Wave, Gusto is another good accounting system, you need to understand your numbers. And 9 times out of 10, if you're downloading something, it's going to get downloaded into some form of an Excel sheet. And for what you don't understand, go ask someone. I have this on our resource page. There is a Kalamazoo startup. They offer accounting services, and they have partnered with the Kalamazoo Foundation to offer free bookkeeping services for businesses. So that is a resource. Please go and talk to someone. I know it can be, we don't like to talk about money and finances, but if you are interested in starting a business, you have a business, and this, just go talk to someone who has insight and expertise who can help you navigate the finances of your business. All right, so that was a great segue. The question that we just had. I'm going to try and get through this really quickly because we want to make sure that we leave enough time for Q&A. So business planning. Oftentimes when we talk about business planning, you hear people talk about the traditional business plan. And I want to also introduce to you all the Lean Startup Canvas as well as the Lean Startup Method. So the traditional business plan, oftentimes you hear people say, hey, you're going to start a business. They say, go write a business plan. Nothing wrong with this. This is a traditional document. It really explains about your business plan, your projections, how your profit and loss, your margins, what are your growth needs. Some of the advantages of a traditional business plan is it's going to give you the full picture of your business, right? From products, your marketing, you're going to be able to get some data analysis. Part of your business plan is talking about looking at market, right? Market analysis. So during that business planning phase, when you're writing things out, you're going to be incorporating a lot of your research right here in this. However, one of the disadvantages of a traditional business plan when you're first starting out is you have put a lot of hypotheticals out there without actually going to test your business, right? When I was in grad school, I had a professor who said he went and he spent over $300,000 to create a business. He never tested, but he had a full business plan. And he said, but part of the issue was I spent all this money on things I thought people wanted, and really what they wanted was something completely different. But I was following the traditional, just go make the business plan and put projections in there and really don't go test the market yet. And now I lost all this money because really what it's about is building along the way, getting information and pivoting and changing. So the Lean Startup Method is really what it's called, right? Starting lean, starting small. So this particular method is really about testing and developing your products and or service really quickly and getting feedback, right? A lot of people unintentionally are actually doing the Lean Startup Method and don't even realize they're doing it, right? So the goal here is really to help you determine, do I have a valuable product? So what we use in the Lean Startup Method is what we call the Lean Startup Canvas. So the Lean Startup Canvas is really good, especially for those of you who are just starting out and you're trying to figure a few things out to kind of work through your business. The concepts that you have in your mind, you can put it all in one place. Whereas a traditional business plan was a bunch of pages, this takes the key business concepts and it puts it on one document for you to see. For those of you who are already in business, there is a business canvas. The business canvas, anybody in business can use that. The Lean Startup Canvas, I highly encourage for people who are just starting out. So these basic components are things that we feel are necessary to help you think through your business. So I'm going to run through these really, really quickly. Unique value proposition is really talking about what value do you add. So when you start a business, you are solving a problem. So you really want to look at what is the value that you are adding to your particular customer base. The high level concept is really looking at what are you trying to do, right? If what I'm creating is functioning at its highest level, what is it actually solving, and how are we making it happen? The next thing we're going to look at is your unfair advantage. That kind of talks, it's your competitive edge, right? What makes you different? So we kind of talked about that, and you were saying in terms of timing, what is going to make you different, right? So there can be a lot of different businesses that do the same similar thing, but they do it in a different way, right? We have Walmart, we have Target, people still go to both. Meijer, you have Harding's, people go to all of these different things. There are different types of consultants, there are different types of businesses. What you have to figure out is what makes you different. And that is what your unfair advantage is. And really that's one way to think about it is too, it's something that cannot be duplicated, right? It's hard to replicate. So it's really looking and saying, okay, we may on paper look as if we do the same thing, but this is something that you cannot replicate. So a lot of people who have product-based businesses, right? This may be your something that you have a patent on, right? Your intellectual property. A lot of us have ideas and concepts that are our intellectual property that nobody can replicate. So that's really what that talks about. Your customer segments, this is huge. I love to talk about this because these are the different people and or businesses who will be your customers, meaning this is who you are solving a problem for and creating value. I think often when we start businesses, we only think of the direct consumer. So you and the individual. So this was something Lisa and I struggled with when we first started, because who we wanted to actually serve, we felt like couldn't necessarily pay our prices. So this is where I understood there's a difference between your customer and a potential end user, right? So for us, we pivoted to say, we thought individuals were our customers at times, but really we went B2B, meaning business to business. And I think this is where a lot of our businesses often overlook the opportunity to do business to business, right? We often are only doing individual selling, but a B2B contract can help you scale in a much higher way and get your product to your overall end user, right? And that goes with even a product. Let's say you have a product that's for youth. The customer is the parent. The end user is the child. So really understanding who your customer is, the customer segment is going to be really crucial for you, especially when you start to talk about how am I pricing out my packages? How do I even get to my particular customers? So I really encourage people to really sit down and think through your customer segment, because I think oftentimes we forget that there are other folks who will be willing to be our customer. Because like I said, sometimes individual customers are great, but having a B2B customer is huge, right? Government contracting, huge. Especially for those of you in service-based businesses. Same thing with product-based businesses. You may be, we've had people who are in our beta program who went from doing pop-up shops to now literally having contracts and having products in stores, right? So being able to understand that is taking the time to really develop and understand who my customer segment really is. Revenue streams is pretty much what it says. Pretty much, how are you making money, right? How these are the different services and products that you actually have. You could be a service-based business and offer products, right? Let's say that you are a consultant and you offer workshops, but then at the same time, you have a workbook, right? That people can purchase. So then you have a product. Same thing with product-based businesses. There are people who have products and then they're able to sell direct to consumer. They're able to sell something different, another type of package, right, to someone else. There are different ways in which you can hit and create revenue streams. Your cost structure is really about what does it take? How much does it take for you to make your business run? So what are the key costs in there? Do you have overhead? Whether it's, do I need to rent a space, right? What does it cost to make you run this business? What is the cost structure of that particular business? Problem is really basic. What problem are you solving? Existing alternatives is really about your competitors, what already exists. Solution, what is that thing that you are going to use to solve the problem. That is either your product and or service that you're creating. And key metrics, I think this is really key, because it's really talking about what is the data and information that you need to be able to make sure your business is running successfully. And a lot of times we don't look at key metrics. The key metrics are critical, right? Like, are you hitting your revenue point? Is it time for you to pivot, right? Sometimes you have to pivot, and a lot of the pivoting comes from understanding the key metrics. I know I'm rushing through this. Anybody have any questions? This is in your workbook. The Canvas, please use it as a tool to work through your thoughts. There are different, and I think this is on there. There are different classes you can take online at a self-paced, where you can literally go through and walk through the Canvas, each section, where it will tell you how to utilize this and do a deeper dive of understanding each of these boxes. But this is a tool here for you.
And I will say for beta, our participants in beta, we spent 2 sessions on this. So we went through it very quickly, and it is in your workbook. Like Nicole said, I would really encourage you to go online and work through the Canvas if you're interested, or apply for beta and you'll get the deep dive on this.
Yeah. And I will say too, this is a breathing document, meaning it's ever flowing. The more you test your product, the more you get feedback from potential customers, you'll begin to change what those boxes are, and you'll make pivots along the way. So we also want to share some of our business basic tools. We had questions about hidden costs. So these are things that I highly encourage people to have in your business. So some administrative tools, understanding how to use Microsoft Suite. So if that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, whether you're a product-based business or service-based business, these things can be very helpful. Some tools that are free, Google Suites, Google Docs, spreadsheets, slides, forms, Google Drive. These are all tools that are free, but if you can pay a premium price for them. It's good for being able to do document sharing, but there are other ways that you can also do some safety features within there. Canva, for those of you who know about, I love Canva. It's a great way to do marketing, media, and a lot of different things. For those of you who are going to be doing some types of events, Eventbrite is a great tool. Jotform is very similar to Google Suites. However, it has a few more capabilities. You can add payments to Jotform. But it's very similar to Google Suites, but these are forms that you can create online, and they'll provide you with a link, and you're able to then share that information out. You can use the free version as well as a premium. ChatGPT, for those of you who are not incorporating AI into your business, definitely look at it. I think you want to make sure you're protecting your own intellectual property, but ChatGPT can be a very useful tool to help you flush out things and get information, as well as you can put information in there. We've used it when we do our business canvas to encourage our participants to literally take your business camp, say, I am working on this particular business. Could you help me fill out the boxes in my business canvas, right? So that is another tool that you could use. You could use it for marketing and media. Let's say you don't have a social media content creator, but you want to get an idea of what you can post. You can say, hey, here's my business. Help me come up with a marketing plan, right? You can put that in ChatGPT and it will give you information. Another thing I use in my business it's called Mondays. Mondays is a CRM system, really, that helps you do project management, being able to share documents if you have other people on your team, or if you just need to see what is happening in your business. It's a great tool to be able to utilize. MailChimp, anybody who's doing any type of newsletters, it's a great opportunity to be able to share out information. Payment processors, Square, Stripe, Clover, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. I go back and forth with Cash App, but it is something that people use. Website emails, you have Google Business, GoDaddy, Wix, Squarespace, Microsoft Outlook. These are all tools that you can use, some of which you can use for free or have a very minimum cost starting out. Social media, right now, I'm not a huge fan of social media. I have a love-hate because I don't like to always be on there, but it's a great tool for your business. You have Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Blueski, Spill, Fanbase, Patreon, the list goes on. There are so many different ways that you can integrate social media into your business. And it's interesting, a lot of research have shown how Black businesses have been able to break into markets that have been oversaturated by utilizing platforms such as TikTok and Patreon. TikTok's #1 seller actually is a Black woman who runs a business called Canvas Beauty. On a TikTok live, she made over 1 million sales in an hour. So these are just other platforms and ways to really think about how you can engage your business. So the sky is the limit.
Yeah,
So.
and I'll just add in on the social media side of things, because I know sometimes social media can be overwhelming. It's grown, it's a lot of stuff out there. What I would say is, one, if you have a social media platform that you're personally using and you're comfortable with that, start there. Having a web presence is important, especially nowadays, but I would start there. Another one I did not put on here is LinkedIn. But the other thing is, you can also research what kind of businesses are doing well on a particular social media platform. So I would take maybe 2 or 3 of these and say, okay, if I have a consulting business, so A&P Consulting, we are not on these social media platforms. I think we may have a Facebook page just out of necessity, but the reality of it is our customers are not on Facebook, not at least the kind that would be getting our business. So we don't do a lot of A&P Consulting advertising on Facebook because it doesn't make sense. However, for Charlie's Place, we do put out a lot of posting on Instagram, for example, because we have put together pictures and it shows what we're doing with our youth, and we're able to get some traction engagement on both Facebook and Instagram. But it also, you have other businesses that are like that are on those platforms, so it makes sense. So if you're selling candles, for example, go on the different platforms and just Google candle business, Black girl candle business, Black women or Black people candle businesses, and just see what pops up and see what people are doing. By doing some of that research, it might just let you see how other people are using the platform, and it may not be as overwhelming. And then ultimately, if you're not a social media person, there may be another method to get to your customers. And so again, these are tools. Take advantage of them as you see fit. Do the research though. The biggest thing I would say in these basic business tools is the administrative tools are key. Because those are things that are going to probably be used more than anything to make sure that your business goes forward and that you can do some of the day-to-day work of your business. What's not on here, especially if you're a product-based business or if you're a professional business, is if you're a lawyer, for example, you might have to have other subscriptions and other types of things to help your day-to-day business. If you're a doctor, you're going to have to use other types of things for your business. But these are your basic tools to kind of get through your day-to-day emailing, developing documents, getting some general advertising and things of that nature out. So we want to move forward to local business resources, and we're getting close to wrap up. So we categorize this in terms of general small business support and then financial resources. I'll highlight a few on the general small business support. And what we mean by that is these businesses offer some type of service, either learning service or just support for your business, so that you can gather some tools or information to be able to move forward. So Black Wall Street, Kalamazoo, through the Black Entrepreneurship training academy we'll talk about in just a moment. But Black Wall Street Kalamazoo also has networking, the Black Business Expo. So there's a lot of opportunity to get support. And if you are a Black business, I would highly encourage you to be following them on Facebook and to get on their mailing list so that you can see some of the upcoming things. Our partnership with Black Wall Street Kalamazoo, there's some very, very exciting things happening in our space that we can't quite announce yet, but we're really excited to see what this year will bring. And also we're looking forward to how we can support our businesses. The Small Business Development Center, there is an office here in Kalamazoo, but that's another great resource where you can get access to some business resources, some coaching and things of that nature. Startup Zoo is another organization that's doing some business support and cohort-based model for businesses, or I should say incubation of some businesses that are trying to grow. But all of these organizations do offer different things for your business that may be beneficial and helping you as you're trying to work through it. I will say getting connected to a business community, because entrepreneurship is a very lonely place and it can be very frustrating, but getting connected to the business community can help you with that support. I will say that is what we're big on with Sisters in Business and Black Wall Street, is making sure that our entrepreneurs, if nothing else, knows that you're not alone in this journey, and that you have somebody else that gets it, that understands the struggle. Not everybody out here is making $1 million in a day. Not everybody out here is getting a million views on Facebook. Most of us are just trying to make it and grow our business at a slower pace, but it can be very rewarding. But we also know that it can be very frustrating at times. So that community is integral in helping your growth. And then Nicole, you want to talk about the financial resources?
Absolutely. So one of the things we actually have is our SIBS fund, where we do pitch competitions, as well as we have a micro emergency relief fund for women in business. Startup Zoo also has pitch competitions. Kalamazoo Venture Forward, a lot of you probably heard of that. They just recently came out and they provide venture capital, and that's mostly loans and investment dollars. The Kalamazoo Community Foundation also has a loan fund that you can take advantage of. United Way offers small business grants. And they also offer some small business loans. Northern Initiatives is another organization that helps provide financial resources to businesses through loans and also through financial consulting if needed. Banks and credit unions, I talked about this earlier, take advantage of your banks. They have business bankers who will talk to you and walk you through different things. I talked about Mitchell Consulting. That is a consulting, finance, bookkeeping business here, Black owned. Michelle Mitchell, she owns that. Grayson Accounting is another accounting firm here in Kalamazoo. And then Kalamazoo Start Center, that is what I was sharing with you all a little bit earlier. They have partnered with the Kalamazoo Community Foundation to provide free bookkeeping services. So if you are in business, getting ready to start business, please be sure to take advantage of these things. Another item that I realize is not on here is we actually have an IRS liaison here in Kalamazoo. So being able, and they partner with different organizations to share information. So do not be afraid of the IRS. And if you have questions, be sure to hit them up as well. So I know we're kind of rushing through this in the end. Lisa, you want to talk about this? You want me to?
Yeah, let's jump into beta. And I'm actually going to skip this slide. This just talks about the Black Entrepreneurship Training Academy. So it is a 5-month cohort-based program where you do have to apply. What participants get as part of this program is we go through 6 business development modules with our experts. Each participant has the opportunity to get up to $5,000 in technical assistance grants. We have weekly office hours with not just ourselves, but we have coaches that are a part of our program that offer this business coaching. There's also an opportunity to pitch for an additional $5,000 that will go to one business. We have a class portal that we use where you have access to all of the information that you get in in beta, as well as additional access to entrepreneurship support services and opportunities to participate in other Black Wall Street or Sisters in Business programming at a discounted rate. So the applications are now open. If you go to blackwallstreetkalamazoo.org, you will find the application there. Go to the beta tag or the beta link or tab, and that's where you will find the application. The deadline does close February 16th. I really encourage anybody who wants to take it a step further. Like I said, a lot of what we talked about today is an overview of what we do in beta, but we go much deeper. We have homework assignments that are due that help walk you through some of these things. And the goal is that at the end of beta, you will have a fully fleshed out business plan and a pitch deck. And we've had entrepreneurs who, as Nicole has stated, has gone from having an idea to now having products in Meyer stores across the Michigan. We have people who've gone from the idea of just starting businesses. We have one guy, for example, he does a TV mounting business. He started off just getting individual customers to now having government contracts to put TVs in some of these mega buildings in this city. So it's certainly been rewarding to see the growth in this program. We graduated our fourth cohort in 2024, and we're only growing. Ultimately, this is a great community. And so we take very seriously wrapping our arms around entrepreneurs, creating that community, and encouraging you that you can do it. So if you're serious about it, please apply. We would love to have you be a part of beta. And then we'll continue to have opportunities to do things like that, this. So now I will open it up to questions. Again, I know we sped through the end part, but please also take advantage of going through that handbook, because we're hoping that is a tool that will help you get started. And I guess the last thing I will say is sometimes starting the process of walking through whether or not you should start a business tells you that maybe you shouldn't. And it's okay. Because we've had entrepreneurs that have gone through our program and got to the end and realized, actually, this is not for me, or I need to do this in a different way or support somebody else. And so I know we had the question from Lysandra a little earlier around, you see other people doing it. How do I go about it? I think, don't be afraid to enter the market. Don't be afraid to test, but also collaborating or coming alongside another organization or business could also be a solution. Sometimes we've seen great collaborative projects come together, and then from there, people are able to maximize those resources and be able to develop something else. We've had people go through our program where they didn't know each other existed, and because they were able to go through our program, they were able to come together and collaborate and do something else all together. So this is a journey, but we are certainly here to support people as we go through. This is the contact information for Sisters in Business. Please follow us on our social media platforms for upcoming events. And like I said, our collaboration with Black Wall Street Kalamazoo, we're just really excited because we've been working out in front of folks, but behind the scenes, and we have some very exciting things happening this upcoming year. So we want to make sure that you all are informed and are a part. And with that, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and open it up for any last questions.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank you all. If you guys can find your reactions and put some claps out there in the chat, what an amazing job that you did. We are so thankful and grateful that you took time out of your schedule to share this information with us. But with that being said, there's a survey that's coming. And I can't see if it has dropped in the chat yet, but if not, I will make sure I email it to you. But thank you. Go ahead and ask your questions, y'all, and then we'll close out with Soror President Yvonne Jackson.
I don't have a question. I just had a statement. This has been one of the best presentations I've ever sat through. I didn't know to what extent your business was and how you wrap your arms around your new entrepreneurs. I just thank you for the opportunity to just sit in. I just want to go through the beta class, not to start a business, but just to gain knowledge from you guys. It was really awesome, and I thank you so much.
Thank you. And I will say, as part of what we have online, we're really working through for people that may not be going through beta, but need that entrepreneurship support or just that support. And I would say entrepreneurship looks different. So it's not just the traditional for-profit business. There are people out here starting nonprofits. There are people have churches. Like all of these have business components, and people need support and people need community. So we have, like I said, there's some things that are coming online this year that we're hoping can add yet another layer of support, and we'll be rolling out so that we can build that community with each other. I think now more than ever, we all know, we all see what's happening, but now more than ever, creating community amongst ourselves and really being able to say, what does it look like to support ourselves? Because I think there's a lot of times we shame each other and saying we don't support each other. But I think what we've learned through this process is we support ourselves and we support each other more than what the media ever will say. And so we want to see how can we elevate that and how can we make sure that you all have what you need. And I think Nicole was right. This is the time. Like, you might think, oh my God, everything's being rolled back and people are attacking us. No, this is the time for our peak. This is peak innovation season. So get them ideas together, because this is when we as a community do our best work. And I'm for all of the negative things, I'm really excited about that, because we know some great innovation is gonna come out of this season that we're in. Julie.
Hi there. Sorry for not being able to be on camera. I'm driving. Two things. First, excellent presentation. I'm excited about growing my business. Just such wonderful information. Second, I did not see, as I was not looking at my phone and driving, that the workbook that I had received that, and I'm not able to download it from the chat. Is there another way to make sure that I get the workbook?
Yes. Did you register for today's presentation?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Not until this morning.
That's okay. So we have your email, and what we can do is we'll resend out. We'll have the workbook resent out. That way we can capture everybody's email, and I'll send Sora Washington the fillable one so that you all can have that one as well.
Thank you so much.
Anita, I wanted to know, are there any restrictions on who can sign up for the beta program?
There are not. We encourage, it targets, I will say, people who are have been in business for at least a year, but we've had people who have not, or yeah, 6 months. But we've had people who have not started their businesses at all come in. I would say if you're interested, fill out the application. But there's no age requirement. Like, we've had youth a part of the beta program. Like, we want people who are looking for the help and are committed to being a part of this process. So no restrictions in that way. I will say, if you've been in business for a long time and you're ready to like either go into being a C Corp and getting shareholders and things of that nature, this is probably not for you. You probably need to come talk to us about how you can help our entrepreneurs.
Right.
But if you are, if you're in the beginning stages or even in the growth stages of your business, this is a good opportunity to come in and get some tools and resources. And like I said, you leave with the pitch deck has been so good because we've had entrepreneurs who have been able to go and win other pitch competitions outside of Beta, or take that pitch deck and go to a Meyer or other corporations, and they're using what they got in Beta. They're using what they put together in Beta. So we've seen this work, and we really encourage you to do it if you're interested.
And we even have a coach who specifically does pitching. So if you need a pitch deck, not even if it's just, hey, I'm going to go pitch to a potential new customer, they'll help you walk through that. She has actually been able to secure over $500,000 within the last 2 years in pitch dollars, right? She actually built a storefront, and she was able to build her storefront without taking on any loans. And we know that is hard to do.
Yes.
But she literally has done that through pitch competitions and being able to pitch her business and secure more corporate clients. So we have pitch coaches. We also have 2 other coaches who they're available to Beta people on a weekly basis. But not only that, once they finish, our Beta participants, once they finish the program, we stick with them. So we have a private Facebook group where we have a whole community. We've had about 51 people who've gone through the program, and everybody is able to continue to share resources, lean on each other, and watch each other win, right? And also walk each other through the tough times, right? Because this is hard. And so, one of the things, we have 6 different instructors who work with us. So it's not just us, but we have 6 different instructors. And there have been times, one of the biggest things that we've done for people is to refer them to a therapist. So when I say this program is not your typical business training program, no, this is about family. We call them everybody the Beta family. We wrap our arms around each other, and we love on each other through our business, right? And we say, hey, you are an individual first and the business second, but you got to be in the business of self before we can be in the business of making sure we have a sustainable business. And that takes community.
Okay, thank you.
It doesn't look like we have any other questions, so I'll turn it over to Sorter Yvonne for, I think it goes to you for closing.
Thank you, Sarah Parker Brown. This has been so fantastic. I do appreciate all the resources that you provided to us, and I hope that people are going to look into that workbook. And if it's okay with you, I would like to share with my children. All of the millennials and Zs want to be entrepreneurs, and I keep telling them you gotta have marketing, management, and a little accounting skills, right? And so if possible, take those 3 classes, but if you can't, right, use these resources that you all provided today. So I totally, truly, truly appreciate you and your sister for providing this information. I've always been in awe of your Beta program. I'm looking forward to it expanding because I know that there are others who would love to be a part of it. And I want to thank everyone who came and participated. And I hope that you garnered some knowledge from Parker Sisters that can help you to either start, grow, or expand your business. So thank you all and have a fantastic rest of your Saturday.
Thanks, everyone. I'll be sending that survey to you along with the fillable form.
Yep. I'm gonna email you right now, Sora Washington, and I'm gonna download the PowerPoint too and get it to you as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm not going to, let me stop this recording first. Oh.